3. Kadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Megillah Daf Yomi Amud Aleph 23a1. Please put on your seatbelts. Yeah, it says over here as follows: Biyom Tov Hamisha, Biyom Kippurim Shisha. Yeah, Shisha. So on Yom Tov you have 5 aliyot. On Kippur you have 6 aliyot. Says the Gemara, Matzniti Mani, who's our Mishnah? Lo Rabbi Ishmael velo Rabbi Akiva. It's not going to be Rabbi Ishmael or not like Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya as we learned in a Braita. Okay, Biyom Tov. On Yom Tov Chamisha, Uyom Kippurim Shisha, Uv Shabbat Shiv'ah. Em pochatim v'mosifim alehem divrei Rabbi Ishmael. That means according to the words of Rabbi Ishmael, you cannot read less or even more. No mosifim. You know what that is? Shabbat without mosifim. No mosifim. Not on Shabbat. Yom Tov, Kippur, Walo. Nothing. 7 is 7, 6 is 6, 5 is 5. That is the shita of Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva says, Yom Tov, Chamisha, Yom Kippurim, Shiv'ah, Uv Shabbat Shisha. Rabbi Akiva was ma'apechet hatzinurot. He switched Shabbat and Kippur. Shabbat is 6 aliyot and Kippur is 7 aliyot. Okay, that's Shitat Rabbi Akiva. Rosh Yosef, he explains the reasoning of Rabbi Akiva that on Shabbat there's a mitzvah of Oneg Shabbat, so they didn't want to add too many aliyot because it's going to take away from Oneg Shabbat. So therefore, all you have to do is you just add an extra 1 on Yom Tov, and that's enough. On Yom Kippurim, anyway, you can't eat and drink, and you're going to be in the Beit Knesset the entire day. So therefore, you can have more aliyot. So it makes sense on Mitzat Svara, not because of the punishment or the strictness, just because of the reasoning. Shabbat, Oneg Shabbat. No, but not only because of Oretzu. We want you to be me'aneg to Shabbat. How are you going to be me'aneg to Shabbat? You go home early. You're not going to stay in the synagogue until 12 o'clock, 12:30. Okay. That's Oneg Shabbat.
Depends what you eat in the Kiddush.
Yeah, 100%. En pochatin mehen, aval mosifim alehem. He says, en pochatin mehen. Yeah, Oneg Shabbat is the Karat of the Shabbat. Oneg is with your house. Yeah, with your wife and children. Remember that. Yeah. En pochatin mehen. It says, nachon. As מה זה נכון.
לשם זה גם כן להיות אשתך. לא היה
אין פוחתים מהן, אבל מוסיפים עליהם. He says you don't do less, but you do more. So according to Shitat Rabbi Akiva, you can never do less aliyot, but you could always do more aliyot. So mani, so therefore if so who's our Mishnah? If it's Rabbi Ishmael, you have the question not Tosefet, you can't do mosifim. And we know that we always do mosifim. And that was our Mishnah. And if it's Rabbi Akiva, Kashya Shisha v'Shiva, right? It's a question on 6 and 7 because he flipped. Right? Rabbi Akiva says Shabbat is 6 and Kippur is 7. And our Mishnah said Shabbat is 7 and Kippur is 6. So says the Gemara, Rava says, Tana de Rabbi Ishmael, it's the academy of Rabbi Ishmael. The Tana of Rabbi Ishmael was the academy of Rabbi Ishmael taught, Yom Tov Chamisha, Yom Kippurim Shisha, B'Shabbat Shiva, Em Pochatim Hen Mosifim Aleim Divrei Ishmael. So the academy of Ishmael says, it's not Divrei Rabbi Ishmael, these are, right? This is a Tana de Rabbi Ishmael, that means the academy of Rabbi Ishmael taught Rabbi Ishmael in this form, not like the Rabbi Ishmael that we had. Because we had the Rabbi Ishmael and you're not allowed to have any Tosafot, right? No Mosifin. You understand? But according to this, you're allowed to have Mosifin, and it's exactly like Rabbi Ishmael. So says the Gemara, Kasha Rabbi Ishmael, 1 second, but that's a contradiction. Because you just told me before, 2 seconds ago, that according to Rabbi Ishmael, you're not allowed to do Mosifin. And now you're telling me you're allowed to do Mosifin. Explain. Answers the Gemara, Tere Tanae Aliba de Rabbi Ishmael. 2 Tanaim, according to the Shita of Rabbi Ishmael. You're right. 1 Tana and Rabbi Ishmael. Remember, this happens many times, right? You know, somebody's they're driving kids to school or they're doing things and they're half listening to a shiur. They say, yeah, the rabbi said this. They didn't realize the rabbi said so. And then another guy, he's coming, he's doing errands, and then, yeah, the rabbi said that. You have 2 people saying in the name of the same rabbi, 2 completely 100%. You have to be in front of the rabbi to see or to hear and to understand what exactly is going on. Okay? There's the Gemara, who is the Tana that which we learned in the Braita? Biyom Tov me'acharin lavo. You know that in Yom Tov, there's a minhag to come later to the Beit Knesset. Right? There's a minhag to come later to the Beit Knesset. Right? Why? because they're tarud in their houses to prepare for Sudat Yom Tov. Umimarin latzet, right? And they come out quickly from the Bet Knesset, right? Why? They want to eat. So imagine, so on Yom Tov, they come later and they leave earlier, right? Usually that doesn't happen. Either they come late and they leave late, right? Or, right, they come early and they leave early. Yeah, that's also, you're right. Yeah, there's people like that as well. Uvyoma Kippurim, so when it comes to do with Kippur, Marin level, everyone comes early to the Bet Knesset, Me'acharin latzet, and they don't go so early. Shabbat, Marin level, Marin latzet. So on Shabbat, they come quickly and they leave quickly, right? In order to be Mekayem, the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbat. So says the Gemara, why don't we say Lemer Rabbi Akiva when it says Rabbi Akiva? Why? Because according to Shittat Rabbi Akiva, one more time, remember, on Shabbat, how many aliyot do you have? Only 6. You don't have the 7 because you wanted to go to do Oneg Shabbat. On Kippur, you had 7 because anyway, there's no Oneg Kippur, so you're going to stay there longer. So that means this should be in accordance to Rabbi Akiva and not Rabbi Ishmael. Says the Gemara, no. Rabbi Ishmael, even if you want to say it's Rabbi Ishmael, Tenafish Sidura Dioma. What does that mean? The Seder Yom is much longer, right, on Kippur. And therefore, there's going to be a much longer tefillah. And that's the way it is. On Kippur, it's much longer tefillah, no matter what. Everyone knows that. So therefore, it's going to take much longer. So that's why it's going to be like that. Okay? Yeah, 100%. Seatbelts, please. Then already has it on. Hani shlosha, chamisha, veshiva kenegami. So these 3, 5, and 7 aliyot, why do we have them? Kenegami, parallel to what? So Pligibad is a maflok between Rabbi Yitzhak ben Nachmani v'chad Dimeh. I have one amora with him. Umanu who's that amora? Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi. The Amnila and some people say Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi v'chad Dimeh. Who is it? Rabbi Yitzhak ben Nachmani. So who's who? Right? There was basically one and then another one with him. But it was both of them together. It was just like who's the Ikar v'Tafeli. The Amnila and some people say Rabbi Shimon ben Nachmani. Chadamar, one of them says Kenega Bikat Kohanim. At the end of the day, the pasuk Rishon of Bikat Kohanim. No, how many words does the first pasuk of Bikat Kohanim has? Ronen. You're a Kohen. Yeah? So the first pasuk, what? It doesn't have reception. Okay. So the first one is 3 words. Yeah, the first one is 3 words. Second one, 5 words. Third one, 7 words. So 3, 5, and 7. 3 aliyot, 5 aliyot, and 7 aliyot, Birkat Kohanim, for those Kohanim that actually pay attention to what they're saying. Yeah, next. V'chadamar, one of them says, Keneged Shelosha Shomrei Asaf. It's parallel to the 3 Shomrei She'arim in the Bet HaMikdash. Why? Chamisha, that means there are 3 Shomrei She'arim in the Bet HaMikdash. Okay? This is what's brought down. Okay? It says over here, Tetvav. Okay, this is to do with the Megilah Hashem, Shomrei HaMikdash. 3 of them. Next, Chamisha, Roeh Penei HaMelech. There's always 5 people that see the king. Shiva, this is the Shiva in the Malchut, Roeh Penei HaMelech. So you have, right, the Roeh Penei HaMelech, which are the ones which are always in front of the king, and then you have the Shiva, which are Roeh Penei HaMelech. So you have 3, 5, and 7. Okay? Next, Tani, Rav Yosef taught, Shlosha, Chamisha, Veshiva, Shlosha, Shomrei Asaf, Chamisha, Roeh Penei HaMelech. So something that we mentioned above. Amar le'Abaye, Abaye says, Ad ha'inna, until now when we learned Masechet Megillah, Mai ta'ama lo parish lamor. Why is it that you didn't explain to us, right, about this that we just mentioned here? So Amalei comes and he answers him, Rav Yosef, to Abaye, Lo v'yadana detzricha lehu. I didn't know that you needed to know this. Umi ba'itu binai miltav lo. What, did you ever ask me something that I didn't answer? Meaning sometimes, right, it's very simple. I just don't explain it because you never asked. If you would have asked, I would have explained. But if not, I didn't know you wanted to know it. So therefore, I didn't explain it to you. But if you would have asked, I would have always explained it to you. Okay? So Amalei, so he comes and he tells him, Yaakov Mina le Rabbi Yehuda. It once happened that Yaakov Mina, here the Tosafot says, Matza'ah, fine, okay. So because if not, then Shem L'Shem Yirkav. So you would have just said, Ha'u Mina. So he comes and he says, Amar le Yaakov Mina le Rabbi Yehuda Matza'ah to Rabbi Yehuda. Hani Shishad Yom Kippurim kenegami. You answered me the 3 of the weekday, 5 of Yom Tov, and 7 of Shabbat. What about 6 of Yom Kippur? So you told me it's either Birkat Kohanim or it's Shlosha Shomrei Ha'ir, right? The this, that. But what about the 6? So he says, Shishad Yom Kippurim kenegami. Amalek keneged Shisha shamnu mimino shel Ezra v'Shisha mismolo. Do you know that when he read the Torah, when Bnei Yisrael went up from the Golah, Ezra Sofer read the Sefer Torah. he had 6 people on his right and 6 people on his left. What happened? No, he came up and he read the Torah until Chatzia Yom. So there were 6 people on his right, 6 people on his left. Because that's what it says in the Pasuk. V'yamod Ezra Sofer, v'yamod Ezra Sofer al Migdal Ha'etz, asher asu l'davar v'yamod etzom et atiyah v'shema v'aniya v'uliya v'chudya v'masiyah al yamino, u'misemolo padaya u'mishalem al kiyah v'choshem v'chashum v'chashbenan zechaya mishulam. So basically we have 6 on the right, 6 on the left. So because of that, we have 6 aliyot on Kippur, right? Because of this. Now what's the connection? It says over here, okay, here's the Chorah 7, not 6. Okay, Vava Chibur. I don't. He says, 1 second, Hani Shivavu. It's 7, it's not 6. So answers the Gemara, Hainu Zechariah, Hainu Mishulam. It's the same person. But Michael Mishulam, so why is it called Mishulam? To Mishlam Be'ovadeh, because he was Tamim and Shalem in his actions. Okay, next. Tanu Rabbanan. We learned to the Braita. Hakol olim minyan shiva. Do you know that everybody is counted in the minyan of 7 aliyot? Vafilu katan, even a child. Okay, vafilu isha, and even a woman. Aval amru chachamim, but says chachamim, isha lo tikra b'Torah. The woman should never read in the Torah. Mipene kevod hatzibur, because of kevod hatzibur. Okay, fine. So it says over here. Okay, Maritain. There's a few different things. Kol isha. Right?
For Rav,
Yes.
For the 7 and the 6, I just read that.
So now they're going to ask the following question: Maftid ma'u sheyaleh leminyan shiva. Can you use the maftid to be counted as one of the 7 aliyot? Because usually maftid is besides the 7. You have 7 plus maftid. So Ravuna Rav Yirmiyah Baraba, one of them says ole, and one of them says en ole. So Manda Marale, according to Manda Marale, it's going to be ole leminyan shiva. Te'akari, was at the end of the day, he's still reading the Torah. So why wouldn't you count it? But according to the Manda, it's not going to count. What's the reasoning that the Maftir and the Navi is going to read in the Torah? Because of the kavod of the Torah. And that's why. Okay, so because it's only kavod of the Torah and it's not chovah, so that's what meaning like this. They instituted the Navi because there were many different, there was the time where they made a decree where we weren't allowed to read in the Torah. So what they did is that they made the Nevi'im. Now that's why the Nevi'im is supposed to have 21 psukim. The reason why it should have 21 psukim is because it's 3 times 7. 3 psukim, 7 aliyot. So it's 3 times 7 is 21 of Daftara. Right? That's what usually nowadays, some of them have less, whatever, but okay, fine. So now what happens is that the concept is that they did that because of a decree, because they weren't able to read in the Torah. But now it wasn't kavod that somebody comes and only reads in the Navi. So because of kavod the Torah, he also reads in the Torah, and then he does the haftarah. But really, he only needed to do the haftarah. The reading in the Torah was not an obligation. It was just because of kavod the Torah. So he says the fact that it's only because of kavod of the Torah, not the chovah, that's why it's not counted as one of the 7 aliyot. So you have 7 aliyot. Besides that, you need the maftid. The maftid is not one of the 7. Okay? So we're going to ask a question. Right? So this is what I just told you. The maftid should not do less than 21 psukim. Keneget shiva shekal b'Torah. Opposite, parallel to 21 psukim. So again, there's 3 psukim for every single aliyah, 7 aliyot, so therefore 21. V'imita. Now, if you're going to tell me then that the maftid is also going to be olel minyan shiva, so then you have to do 8 times 3. 8 times 3, it's 24. It's not going to be 21. So answers the Gemara, since it's only going to be Mishum Kvod Torah, right? 23b. That's why you don't need it or parallel to it. Okay? Matkif la Rava. Rava comes and he says.
When was instituted the 7?
Matkif la Rava. So Rava comes and he asks the following question. On that which you're not allowed to have less than 21 psukim in haftarah. Vare, 1 second, haftarat tzav. Haftarat tzav, right, is olotechem sefu. You don't have 21. The Karinan, we do read it. Usually it's a Shabbat Gadol and everything. Okay, so he comes and he says, there's only 19 psukim, right? And it's, so he comes and he says, right, as follows. So he says, Shane Hatam Disalik Kinyan, you already finished the topic. if you finish the topic, so even if it's going to be less than 21, then it's okay. So says the Gemara, and if you're going to say that you didn't finish the topic, no, you. I was many times in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Right? He used to come and he used to read 10 psukim. Amar la nafsiku, he would tell us to stop, even if it wasn't Salikanyana. So he says, Makom sheish turgeman shanino. If you have a meturgeman, then it's different. Right? The Tanya of Tachliv Shmuel lo shanu ela b'mikom shen turgeman. Mikom sheish turgeman posek. That means even before you finish the minyan of psukim, right? Why? Because if you're going to read 21 and then you're going to be metargem also 21, there's tircha de tzibura. And you can imagine right now, because remember, the targum is always double, right? Because you say one pasuk, I have to translate one pasuk. So if you're going to do 21 psukim plus the targum of 20, it's too much. So many times even after 10. So it all depends if you have a meturgeman or you don't have a meturgeman. Okay? That's when it finishes. Anyway, because of that, we do see that there is differences in halachot to do with the haftarah. Okay? Fine. Yeah? Next. Mishnah. Okay? Em porsin al shema. So it says here, you don't say half the berachot of Kriyat Shema in order for the people that come late to the Bet Knesset. Ve'en ovrin lifnei teva, and you don't do shliach tzibur for the teva, to do chazarat hashatz. Ve'en nosin et kapeim, you don't do nesiat kapayim, birkat kohanim. Ve'en korim b'torah, you don't do Kriyat Torah, ve'en maftirim, you don't do haftarah. Ve'en nosin ma'amad moshav, you don't do ma'amadot moshodot, is to do with somebody when passes away, or they don't see birkat avelim, tanchumei avelim, birkat chatanim, this is talking about sheva berachot, or mezamnim b'shemer to do zimun, pachot me'asara. So in all these things, whether it's birkat kohanim, you always need 10. If you have 10 people, you do these things. You don't have 10 people, you don't do these things. Uve karkaot, now to do with evaluating hekdesh, right? But now, shumat karkaot. What is shumat karkaot? Shumat karkaot is when you evaluate karka for hekdesh. Means something was consecrated for the Bet HaMikdash. They're going to evaluate how much is it worth. So you need 9 Yisraelim and 1 Kohen. V'adam kayotze behen. Right? And also the same thing, when you're going to evaluate a human being, the same thing, you need 9 people and 1. That means you do need the 10 people. Okay? That's what he's saying over here. Tisha me'am yecholim Yisraelim, then one of them has to be a Kohen. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, how do we know that all these things need 10 people? Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Rav Yochanan says, Rav Chia bar Abba, Rav Yochanan the Makat says the pasuk v'dikdashti b'toch bnei Yisrael. I'm going to be sanctified within bnei Yisrael. Kol davar shebiktusha lo yeh pachot me'asara. Anything which is going to be kodesh, which means that they sanctify the name of Hashem, lo yeh pachot me'asara. You cannot have less than 10 people when you're doing it. So says the Gemara, my mashma, right? Where do you see that in the pasuk? So he says, the Tanya Rav Chia bar Zuchia taught, Atya, we make a gezerah shava, toch. Ketiva, it's written in the pasuk, v'nitashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael. I'm going to be sanctified within b'nei Yisrael. Ktivata, and it's written over there to do with machloket korach and adato. Kibadelu mitoch ha'edah azot. You're going to separate from this edah. Ve'atya edah, and you have a gezerah shava edah. So that means basically, right? Remember one more time. You have toch, v'nitashti b'toch from korach toch. Now in the korach you have edah, because it says over there to do with the menaglim matay la'edah azot, right? And therefore it's written over here. Just like over there, Edah by the Menaglim is 10, because remember there were 12, but Yoshua and Kalev were good. So therefore the Adah HaRe'ah was only 10. Afkan, so too the Parashat Korach was going to be 10. And therefore, you learn back, Benigdashti Betoch, so for Edah, you learn Menaglim to Korach. And Toch, you learn Korach to Benigdashti Betoch when he said. So therefore, whenever you're going to be Benigdashti, you need 10 people. Okay? Ve'enosi Ma'amadu Moshav, you don't do Levayat Amet. You don't do the levaya with less than 10 people. But since you have to say, Imdu yikarim amodu, shevu yikarim shevu, is stand up yikarim or sit down, that sid ma'asara levodoch ara, it's not proper to say that. It's not derech eretz to say that if it's less than 10 people, because it's yikarim. Yikarim are precious. So it's only going to be if there's 10 people, there's a lot of people, that's when you could say that. What about birkat avelim or birkat chatanim? So he says, my birkat avelim, birkat rechava. It's a bracha that they used to say in the city center. Has to be the avelim are not considered part of the minyan. That means you need 10 besides the avelim. Okay, and that's what they're saying in the city center.
Because they are until they are on a need.
Well, not really. This is the first seudah. This is talking about seudat avrah. The seudat avrah, the veil is not allowed to eat anything until after the seudat avrah. So here we're talking about, during this one. right? So he says they used to actually make this like a beracha. So that was only done when you had 10 people, but they cannot be part of the minyan, I guess because of their status quo. Ubikat chatanim, but to do ubikat chatanim, it's with 10 men, but the chatan is part of the minyan, right? Because it says over here, it says here, Rashi explains, shekevan shomrim bracha lemnachamim bifnei atzmam vela'avelim bifnei atzmam, lemnachamim they say achenu balagmul yishalem lachem eschar kuluchem, and the avelim they say achenu, so therefore that's why the avelim are not part of the menachamim, so therefore they cannot be mitzaref. That's why it's like two different blessings. They give a blessing to the people that are the mourners, and they give a blessing to the people that are mourning the other people, that are giving them the consoling. So the consolement. So therefore, since they're getting the consolement, each one, that's why the avelim are not part of the other group, because you need 10 people that are doing the consoling. Okay, that's what's brought down in Rashi. Okay, and to do with the chatanim, they are part of the minyan because they are samechim like everyone else. Right? Everyone's happy. Also, the chatanim are happy. Right? They still didn't know what they get into. Yes, so therefore everyone's happy. So since everyone's happy, right, that's why they're still part of the minyan. Okay, fine. Then mezamnim alavazon b'shem pacho me'asara. So he says, right, that they're not going to be mezamnim alavazon with the name of Hashem, which is nevarech elokenu, right, shachal mishlo, with less than 10 people. Kevin the Baal Mimar, because since they have to say, right, nevarech lelokenu, patzin me'asara lavor achar. It's not normal. It's not derech eretz to say with the name of Hashem without 10 people. So Shumat Karkaot, Tisha veKohen kayotze behen. So he says, how do we know this? Amar Shmuel, and Shmuel says, Asara Kohanim ketuvim b'parasha. It's written 10 times the word Kohen in that parasha of the Pidyon of Ekdesh. So therefore, Chalu Gufe, one of them for itself, which means that the Shuma has to be done through a Kohen. That's why you need minimum one Kohen. The Idach, another 9, have a mute is a mute after a mute, which means it's a minimizer after a minimum, meaning it's coming to exclude after an exclusion, okay? Because it's coming to exclude that it's done through a Kohen, not through the Israel, but every single time you're doing the same thing. So it's coming to include. So if it's Tisha Yisraelim, so what is it coming to include? That it could be even include a Yisrael. So for since it's coming to include a Yisrael, you could have 9 Yisraelim and 1 Kohen. So ask the Gemara, maybe you need half and half. Maybe you need 5 Kohanim and 5 Yisraelim. Right? The first Kohen is Ligufo Lemet Yisrael, and the second one is a Miyut Mechamiyut. But then afterwards it comes, which comes to include a Yisrael. But since the second one was already a mute, so the third one was not. So therefore you continue going back and forth. So therefore you need 5 and 5 at the end. So he comes and he says, Kasha, it's a good question. You're right. I don't know why we didn't say that. Right? But Be'emet, even though the Mishnah said 9 and 1, maybe Be'emet we could have said it was 5 and 5. But we didn't say that. Now, no, it's 9 and 1. That's what Mishnah. But we have a question.
No, but if you have the most of the
Adam kayotze bahen. Adam, right, is going to be like the karka. Okay, so he says, Adam mi kadosh. He says, can you be makdish an Adam? He says, you can do that. So what does it mean you're going to be makdish ben Adam in order to come and to put like a dime pidyon? So Amar Rabbi Avu says, Rabbi Avu, he says, no, beomer damai alai. If a person says, my money is onto me, what does that mean? A person made a neder that he's going to give a ekdesh the money according to his value. Titania was learned to the Braita. Haomer damayalai shamin oto ke'eved. Right? If somebody comes and he says damayalai, we're going to evaluate him like an eved, which is going to be sold in the shuk, and then we give the money to the hekdesh. The eved itkash lekarkaot. Now eved is going to be mukash to karka. Which means there's a kesh between avadim and a sadeh to sadeh achuzah, and therefore you need 10 people to do the exact same thing. Okay, we finished. Oh, let's just start the Mishnah. The Mishnah just says that Torah person is going to read in the Torah. You're not going to read less than 3 psukim. You can't read more than 1 pasuk. Just says you're allowed to read 3 psukim together. If you're going to have 3 different parashiot, meaning the 3 different psukim in the Navi, 3 different parashiot, here you do need to read it 1, 1, 1. You cannot read 3 in one shot. Because we just said by the Navi, you are allowed to read 3 psukim. But if it's 3 different parashiot, you have to read 3 different psukim. You can't read all 3 psukim together. You could skip around in the Navi, but you don't skip around in the Torah. How much can you skip around in the parashiot? Until the Meturgiman is not going to stop, right? And that's why that means that he's still in the middle of his translation, and you're able to scroll from one place to another place. Have a wonderful day.